Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's one of the biggest fight weeks of the year so far, and the three amigos are back in business. I've got Liam Tully and Jay's Fight Talk with me. We're going off piste a little bit in this one. We're going into the world of mixed martial arts for UFC 306 / UFC Noche / UFC Mexican Independence Day. You know, whatever it wants to be called, UFC Sphere, I think people are calling it as well. But what a main event we've got in store. You know, it might not be the best UFC main card of all time, but the main event itself, for me, makes it, every bit worth watching. There's going to be all sorts of theatrics going on at the Sphere. Dana White saying they're going to be painting us a story throughout the fight. Each fight's going to lead into, something Mexican themed. It's going to be quite cool and fascinating to see, isn't it, boys?
I'll let you take starters, Liam.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting week, isn't it? It's obviously, this is Riyadh season's second foray into the MMA world, isn't it? After the card out in Saudi earlier this year, but this is kind of their power, similar to what we saw in Vegas with Los Angeles with Crawford and Madrimov. It's kind of them bringing a card overseas, and if we're being honest, it is slightly underwhelming as a UFC numbered pay-per-view event in general, but also to have the Riyadh season backing, it's underwhelming. In the second instance, Sugar Sean is always an exciting fighter to see. It's the long-awaited first combat event at the Sphere. Dana White held up Eddie Hearn. He said he was going to make sure he got in there first, so Dana can chalk that one up as a victory for himself. And look, the UFC always put on a great show, regardless of whether or not it's fights and cards that deliver. It's fast tempo, the fights churn out, don't they? So I'm sure it will deliver on the night, but it's not whetting the appetite in the same way as we were giddy before Drickus and Adesanya last week.
One thing about the UFC is definitely the pacing. Big up, Jan. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Hopefully, if you're looking for some education, mate, you probably want to go and watch a proper podcast. Not all spread for baits, but we'll try our best, mate. We do love the UFC. We're obviously boxing core at the heart, but we do love our UFC as well. Over to you, Jay's Fight Talk.
I mean, yeah, Liam's pretty much said it all. I mean, the initial announcement of the card was around the main event, and obviously the ladies is it their second? It's a second, not third, and it's a second sort of rematch.
Trilogy
off the back of their Tough. They did Tough.
Yes.
Tough, which finished God knows how long ago. For me, it's no disrespect to any of the sort of early prelim, and further down the main card. It's a 3-fight card. Dana announced the biggest, Mexican. Well, it was the biggest event. It was an event like we've never seen before, and and I know the UFC. Some of the best cards I've ever seen have been not numbered cards, and for fans like ourselves, we'll watch. And again, I don't mean any disrespect by it, but sort of nobodies or not mainstream named fighters that are familiar to everybody. Some of the best fights I've ever seen have been between two, fighters low down the card. For me, it's going up against one of the biggest Mexican, if not the biggest Mexican fights superstar there is, which is the boxing. It's meant to be the biggest event. It's the debut fight event at the Sphere. For me, it's a bit of a letdown. Sean O'Malley's a massive draw. Yeah, he is. But he's a massive draw to a particular type of fan. I don't think that event will sell out just on the back of Merab versus Sean O'Malley. Merab's not a massive name to MMA fans. He's more than deserving of this title shot. He would have got it before if Aljamain Sterling, his sort of stablemate, hadn't have been champion. They'd had discussions. Dana was a little bit pissed off that they'd put it out there that they'd never fight each other. So here we are. He stole the red Michael Jackson jacket, didn't he? And paraded it around. So this fight's been brewing for a while. It's got a bit of something behind it. The girls, it's a rematch. For me, I think Shevchenko won the last fight, but it is what it is. She got stopped in the first. And then we've got the remade fight again. I think it's at featherweight between Ortega.
It's at featherweight.
But it was made at lightweight last time on short notice. And I believe that Ortega pulled out. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they made it at 155 last time.
Well, they had we'll get into it. They had the big fiasco about the weight, didn't they? And then Danny Ige stepped in to fight Diego Lopez in the end. It It was at the International Fight Week, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now, for me, as I said, I'm just going through the card now, and I'm not being dismissive of the likes of Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribovic, but these are for just the Mexican names, so they've just put most of the Mexican fighters on this card without any proper sort of build-up. For me, I'd have put some of these fighters on cards leading up to this, maybe against a name, but they're not. They've put sort of non-household names against non-household names. I can guarantee now a lot of people will not watch it like we will, watch it the whole way through, because they're gonna zone out. God forbid that there's points decision after points decision after points decision, because Dana has invested, not so much financially in terms of the company because of the backing that they've got, but they've invested a lot of markets, have been heavily marketed as. I mean, I saw Dana.
Mate, let's be fair. They're going to do their conkers on this event unless something changes in fight week.
I mean, the last thing I will say is I saw Dana say something the other day, and I felt like vomiting it. I felt like vomiting as he said it. It was, we're going to paint this story from the first fight to the last bell, and we're going to do this. And I'm thinking, how?
None of these want to see good fights. We're not bothered about any stories,
And I don't know how true this is. I know I just said that was.
Well, they're bigging it up to be this next big, like it's going to be like the best thing I've ever seen.
I tried to buy tickets today, not because I'm going, just to see if I could buy tickets. I could reserve 4 tickets, decent seats as well, not just the nosebleeds. I'm talking untiered seating still available. So for me, that tells us everything we need to know about this event. Whatever they're telling you, it's not selling out.
Just want to get your thoughts, boys. Sorry, Lynn, to cut you there. I'll come to you first on this one. Want to actually just preview a bit of the O'Malley versus Dvalishvili fight. Because it is a fascinating matchup. Just looking at the two fighters in question. So Sugar Sean O'Malley had the crushing defeat to Marlon Chito Vera on his way up.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen. He's undefeated. Yes, apologies, Sugar. But yeah, in fairness, he was probably injured in that fight, but he needs to take his L. Marlon did knock him out in the end. Ultimately, he hit him with a big elbow on the deck and so on and so forth. But since then, he's beat the likes of Raulian Paiva, who's a solid fighter, Piotr Jan, which was a debatable decision in my mind, but anyway, it was a good fight and he performed well in Abu Dhabi. Then he, who did he fight after that? He took one more, I think. One more before. Who was it?
He's fought. What's the Eddie?
No, after Peter Yan, he went straight in with
the title shot. Did it? Oh, that was it. Yeah, because he was ranked like 10 or 11 at the time. Then Piotr Yan was ranked number 1. So they took the chance on him, and he beat Yan in Abu Dhabi, which was very debatable. And then he got the shot at Aljamain Sterling. He put on a great performance against Aljo. Stopped him in the second round he sort of slipped back and caught him with the right hand coming forward. And for me, I thought the stoppage was slightly early, but in any way, he was pounding on Aljo for a while on the ground. So, it was a fair, could have been fair. I thought it was a little bit early personally, but and then he came out last time out and put that righted the wrong against Chito, and he batted him for 5 rounds. Chito hurt him with a body shot right at the end of the fight, if you remember, but O'Malley was on fire that night, like in his flow state. Kind of reminded me of Max Holloway against Calvin Kattar a little bit. That O'Malley and Chito Vera last fight just absolutely dominated him for 5 rounds. And on the other hand, you got Merab, Mexican Merab on the other side of the octagon, finally getting his world championship shot. Obviously, like you said, Jay, earlier, stablemate of Aljamain Sterling. His stablemate's
out the way now, though, hasn't he? He's got not extreme couture. He's gone with.
He trains out the PI, I think, mostly Merab. To be fair,
he's training with. Is it John Wood?
I actually don't know, but he's definitely spent more time in Vegas, I think, for this camp anyway. But
he's still with Ray Longo, Matt Serra. With them, but with him living out of Vegas.
I think Aljo will probably be in the corner as well. It'd be Sarah Longo and Aljo, weren't it, on Saturday night, I think. But yeah, he's won 10 in a row. He was troubled by Marlon Moraes, really badly wobbled by him. He showed a lot of heart to keep in that fight. Unlike O'Malley, he absolutely.
Is Moraes who caught him in the choke, and he was winning the fight, and then he got caught in a choke, didn't he? And
Ricky Simon did that to him right at the start of his UFC career.
His debut?
Yeah, it was like he kept kicking to keep the circulation in him. But what before I throw it back over to you boys, I want to talk about his performance against Piotr Jan, because unlike O'Malley, he fought him in a 5-rounder and he absolutely dominated Piotr Jan in that fight. For me, his best performance of his career. And then he followed that up with a dominant win over Henry Cejudo, and he out-wrestled him. So what I want to ask you is, you've got the dazzling striking, the speed, the precision, the timing of Sugar Sean O'Malley, and then you have the constant pressure, the ruggedness, the volume, the pressure of Merab. You have two completely contrasting styles in there on Saturday night.
Yeah.
You could see a path to victory for O'Malley quite easily. You can see a path to victory for Merab quite easily. But, who's going to be able to impose their style and their will on the fight?
I think Merab is going to surprise a lot of people. I don't think he's as gung-ho as his style is perceived. Yes, he's very wrestling heavy. I think he was a European combat Sambo champion. Sambo is the where they wear the judo gi top half, boxing boots, and 4-ounce gloves. It's a bit strange. It's sort of a mix of jiu-jitsu, judo, and sort of fighting as such. But his striking's very underrated for me.
He's a good striker.
If you look back at the Marlon Moraes fight, he sort of boxed his head off for a round and a half. Stuck behind the jab. Marlon Moraes hits like a Mack truck.
He does.
Sort of stood in the pocket with him, teed off on him, and then took him down. It wasn't, a lot of his victories are just sort of marauding forward, gets in on the hips. He'll either get a single or a double, and then he's flinging him. Look what he did to Cejudo. I think he carried him across the ring.
Yeah, that was insane. What a performance.
But for him to do that against Henry Cejudo, forget anybody else. Henry Cejudo is up there as one of the best pure wrestlers in MMA. Olympic gold medalist, multiple time world champion, debatably beat Demetrius Johnson. I still think DJ won that second fight after the when they rematched, and then DJ went across to one in the world's worst bit of business in terms of the transfer. But I think for me, Merab's going to surprise a lot of people. I think he's going to have to try smother O'Malley, but we know that you can't chase him, because that's exactly what Aljamain Sterling did, trying to get in, to get hold of him, to get on his back, or at least take him down. Merab's going to have to be a little bit cuter, and I think that's where Syndicate will come in. They have a lot of strikers within that gym. John Wood's base is striking. I think they've worked a lot on his striking. We saw that he got cut the other week in sparring, so he's obviously sparring heavy. I think he had his last sparring session on Saturday. I did see something on social media, so I'm expecting it not to go to script. I don't mean that by who wins, but I think we will be surprised that Merab will have success on the feet for me.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as Jay just said, as people are probably predicting. I think is there such thing in the UFC as a routine title defense? I think that's what people are expecting this to be. But as much as the argument with Merab is he's not finished a fight, he's not finished a fighter since 2020. He's not had more than one fight. Ironically, the last time he fought more than once in a year was 2020 in COVID.
No way. I thought he was more active than that. Yeah.
No, he's not. I've had a look. This is the first time he's fought more than once in a year since 2020. So he's not as active a fighter, whereas Sugar Sean has been active. Even if he's won 15 minutes in decisions, he's then back out 3-4 events later.
Very active.
And we have seen an evolution in his game. He's shown that he can adapt to a fighter smothering and coming onto him, like he did against Sterling when he won the title.
He's way better than he gets credit for, Sugar. He's a good, intelligent fighter. He really is.
He showed against Chito that he learnt lessons from the first fight. Whether he was injured or not, that first fight against Chito Vera was not going to plan for Sugar Sean, regardless of the fact he was injured, regardless of the fact he got stopped. It's the first time we've seen him as sort of rushing awe and expecting his clinical timing to be enough to get him through a fight not work. And his maturity, I'd say, in his last performance in the rematch to actually go, right, okay, I know I can't rush in. I'm probably not going to be able to unless opportunity presents itself to finish this guy. So what can I do? away. Let's not make this a boring 25 minutes. Let me dominate for 25 minutes and show my striking. And his range movement of getting into range and landing the shots on Cheeto and then being far enough away. So when Cheeto did shoot or look to get his own shots off, majority of the time Sugar was already gone, wasn't he? So he's shown an evolution. And if he's been looking at how, if he's been looking into what he can do better, his grappling base is starting to come on. His defense is starting to come on. It's not going to be an easy fight, and I think he'll have to overcome some tough moments in the fight. But if this was Sugar Sean pre the first Cheeto Vera fight, I'd be more worried than I am right now.
Yes, I agree. His game has definitely evolved. He was a pure striker that worked very similar to Conor, sort of a karate-esque base with a wide stance, a lot faster than Conor. So he worked a lot more on reactions, whereas as Conor, rather than fast twitch, would slip punches. I know that sounds stupid because you're sort of doing the same thing, but Conor's more rhythmic, whereas O'Malley will react based on what's coming at him. Conor's a lot more rhythmic. Sean O'Malley's reaction times are absolutely insane. I have seen something where they tested his reactions and it was milliseconds.
I've seen this.
His takedown defense now, though, is wow. It's leaps and bounds what it was.
Incredible.
You saw how easy Cheeto Vera got to his hips in the first fight, albeit it was ended by an injury, but he kept getting to his hips and locking his hands, and sort of O'Malley was struggling against the cage. So this time, O'Malley just stayed in the center, wasn't worried about getting taken down. Then when Cheeto tried to take him down, he'd square his hips on, he'd load his weight so that Cheeto couldn't pull him over. Really good. I was really impressed with the way that his game's evolved. It's sort of, I know he plays this character and he sort of messes around and pretends he's not serious. And we know that is an act. But what I'm saying is you can see that he has knuckled down, and I think him and his coach, Tim Welch, I'm the first to admit this. When I first saw his coach and thought, oh, the buddies, they're more or less the same age. His coach is just a hang along.
It's a good dynamic of guys, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit like I did with Ben Davison at first in boxing.
Yeah,
you know, when he got the job through Tyson Fury, but he's evolved now and become one of the best minds in British boxing in terms of up-and-coming coaches. I think we will see in years to come that Tim Welch will be a very, very good coach. Looking at, you know, we only see what they show us on sort of Embedded and things like that.
Yeah.
He's always studying. He seems to be a student of the game. And I think he's taken some of that striking base that Sean had. We know he's good at that, and then said, right, we need to concentrate on your grappling fundamentals, your grappling defense fundamentals. And I think in terms of the two fighters, you can see that O'Malley has sort of evolved a lot more than what Merab has. Merab is very similar to what he was when he first came through, contradicting what I've just said. His striking's got progressively better, but I wouldn't say his striking is as good as what O'Malley's wrestling defense is now. And I think that's probably, for me, where we're going to see a big difference come fight night. It'll be close, but, you know, I think we will see that there are significant differences in skill sets.
Quick main event prediction, boys.
I'll let you go first, Liam.
Just one point for I make a prediction I'd like to make. And the thing I think a lot of bantamweights struggle with is Sean O'Malley at 5'9" is incredibly tall for a bantamweight as well.
Long.
That makes such a difference because, again, the Moab we saw against Peter Yan, that's a similar height difference to what he 5'5". Yan, I think, is 5'3", 5'4". That's quite similar. Going up to fight a guy that's 5'9" can make a massive difference. It's more limbs, it's more arms, it's a bigger torso to try and wrap yourself around. I think a lot of fighters have struggled with that as well up against Sean because he's so bigger than any other fighter we can see at bantamweight, and you can bring in sparring partners that are from higher weights all you want, but when you're there in that squared, in terms of prediction, I think Sean will get a stoppage in the third or fourth round. Like you said, I think he's going to have to overcome some hairy moments early on, but I think once he gets into his rhythm, once he starts getting his shots off, I think that's when we're going to come into his own, and he will get a stoppage late in the fight. Again, I think activity is going to be key here. I think the fact that he's had, I think this is his 10th, 11th fight since 2020. I think that's going to play a massive role in the fight for me.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, but I'm going to disagree. I'm going to give you a random stoppage. I have got a funny feeling that Merab is going to go to take O'Malley down. O'Malley's going to have his arm out to defend, and I see the fight getting stopped on an injury. I think O'Malley's going to hurt his shoulder or his arm. Don't ask me why, but I've just can't stop picturing Merab, when he digs his shoulder in and he throws him over. I've got a funny feeling there's going to be an injury. Well, one of them's going to get injured, but I've got a feeling O'Malley's going to get injured.
I'll top your prediction. I think that Mark Goddard's going to chin O'Malley and Merab's going to win. He's going to win by DQ. I'm with Liam Tully. I think O'Malley's going to get him. I think he's going to stop him at some point. I just can't unsee that. But I always favour a striker in these matchups. I can't help it.
You have to.
When Merab 5-0s him after just holding him on, just wrestling the life out of him. I just cannot. It's like Leon against Bilal the other week as well. It's that kind of thing for me. I just think Sugar's he's a sniper.
I think we're building it up for a boxing masterclass from Merab.
Yeah.
Morning, eating humble pie, boys.
Merab's going to be coming in with the 1-2s. Yeah, absolutely. Right, we'll move on quickly to the co-main. Won't spend as much time on this, but Grasso Shevchenko, it's the trilogy. Grasso with the face crank, I think it was, to win the first fight in a huge upset. The draw in the second fight. Many thought Valentina won that fight. So here we are now. Obviously, Grasso with the Mexican representation, so made a lot of sense to have it on this card. How do we see it, boys?
I think it'll go similar to the second fight. I think that unless Valentina's sort of peaked, like we get from a lot of the champions, don't we? They have a run, and then it's very rare that unless they win the title straight back, it's sort of they never really get it back. Not in a like a trilogy. They might win it back again in 3 or 4 fights time. I think Valentina will continue in the same vein that she finished the first fight. For me, she was on top of that. She was edging the round. She wasn't winning comprehensively, but as far as getting the better of the rounds, for me, I think she won that fight 3-2. And I think she's got the bit between her teeth. She's not used to not being either the champion or certainly the up and comer. So it's sort of alien territory for her. I don't believe she ever expected to lose the second, not win a title back in the second bout. Yeah, she thinks she won, as I do, and I think, no disrespect again to Alexa Grasso, I just think Valentina's better than her. Yeah. I know she stopped her in the first one, but she caught her, didn't she? And she never recovered. Yeah. For me, I think Valentina's going to put on a bit of a masterclass, and I could see a 3rd or 4th round TKO.
Just worry about Valentina being 36, and is she going to age overnight at some point? How do you see it?
She lives the life, though, Sam.
Yes, she does.
She does live the life. I mean, she's done martial arts since she was a kid. I think both her parents, certainly her mum is a martial artist. I know her sister, not half as good.
Yeah, she's married to the game.
Yeah. She's single. She's got no children. She's got no distractions. She sort of travels, shoots guns, and kicks ass. So unless, as I said when I first
sounds like Jay's Fight Talk. Are you talking about Valentina?
No, I just think that if Valentina has still got something left in terms of anywhere close to what she was as champion, she wins it for me. But again, like you said, Sam, if she has hit that ceiling and she's on the way down, Grasso's got the age on her, she's younger, she's fresher, that would be the only way. If Valentina doesn't turn up, she'll lose for me. But if she turns up, she wins that fight. What are you thinking, Liam?
I'm going to sit on the fence here and say we'll know by the end of the first round how the fight's going to go. And by that, I mean everything we've just said. If Valentina has gone the other side of that hill, we'll know after 5 minutes. Yeah. And you can say it's a cop-out. You ask me later in the week, I'll give you a prediction. But right now, I'm saying, haven't seen them in this fight week. It all depends on how Valentina starts. If she's into her rhythm straight away that she's had throughout the run and makes her famous, then I don't think she'll get a stoppage. I think she'll win on points. But if she's not, then Alexia will. Again, I think it'll be a points decision either way. But I can see Alexia taking control and doing what she wants to do in the fight. She'll still have questions to answer. If Valentina's timing's even half a second off, Alexia will make her pay for it. And I think that could be the deciding factor. What has Valentina got left? It's all well and good living her life, like you say, and it's fantastic that she does. Again,
it's not there.
It's not there. And their second fight, I want to say, was August, September time last year. So it's been 12 months since either of them have been in the octagon. It could affect Alexia as well, but Valentina being slightly older, that 12-month period, doesn't matter how much training you do, the actual combat of fight night, that could be where we see she comes unstuck. Fighters say it all the time. They feel fantastic in the training.
Until they get in.
Lights, oh, shit, I actually don't have anything left. So it would be a shame if Valentina goes in there and she's not herself, because she's been a fantastic ambassador. She's a future Hall of Famer without a shadow of a doubt for me. What she's done for the game is not given enough respect personally, but I do wonder if Alexa just is a little bit fresh. She sort of knows what to expect from Valentina. It's her third fight against her now. Nothing can surprise her. She's been able to work on what she needs to work on to improve her game. So what negatives, what bases did she need to build up to combat what Valentina can do and what her strengths are? I just feel like it's Alexia's time. But
she might have a number,
yeah. Again, I'm saying I will have a better idea after the first rounds, because if Valentina's on it, then it could potentially be a masterclass from her like we've seen in years gone by.
I think Valentina will take it on points. I do. I've just got a feeling she'll have one more decent one left in her, to be honest. I don't think she's too much longer left at 36, maybe a couple more.
She might retire, She
might,
could retire. If she wins she could retire. I mean,
hard to turn down the pay-per-view points, so I think.
But, I mean, does she need it? I mean, she's had
a
lot of big fights. She had the big fight against Amanda Nunes where she got well paid. I mean, she always wanted to fight Nunes again, didn't she? And I don't think that's going to happen. Can you see her getting up to fight the likes of Raquel Pennington or Pena? Or she don't want to fight any of them. She's fought the who's who. I think the only challenge for her was to try win the title back. I would not be surprised if she wins and puts the gloves down in the centre.
Yeah. I think that's a fair call. So just quickly, boys, we move on to Ortega versus Lopez, which is a fantastic fight at 145 pounds, and there's probably title implications in this fight, to be honest with you. Maybe, obviously, Max and Ilya are fighting. Depending on what happens, we could see a move up for Max, I would say, again, to get back in 155. Maybe Ilya, if he defends again, could he try and move up? He's probably outsized at 155. But anyway, Ortega Lopez is a bit of backstory to it. They're meant to fight. I think it was International Fight Week, and it was a short notice fight, wasn't it? Ortega got ill, I think he did, and he couldn't make weight. And then, he couldn't make 145, and then they moved it to 155, I think. And then he got ill. And then Dan Ige took the call off the sofa on fight day or something, which is one of the most gangster moves in UFC history. So Lopez fought him at 160 or whatever it was, and whatever weight they could put it on that Ige could make. Put on a solid performance. Ige's tough. It's very hard to stop him. I'm still yet to see. Diego Lopez has got some good height behind him, but I'm not, sold on him being the next coming right yet, if I'm being honest with you. And T-City, he's a good fighter. People need to remember about Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu. I know Lopez got a good jits as well, but, this is a good matchup, this. And, don't roll out T-City for me.
No, no, but for me, Max Holloway stole his soul. He's never been the same fighter since the ass kicking that he took. To be
fair, I know what you mean. He did well against Yair, though.
Yeah, but Yair's Yair, isn't he? Yair's not. I mean, he's got the he's got the highlight reel knockouts, and he caught Korean Zombie with the backward elbow, and he does his question mark kicks, and I just don't think Brian Ortega is as good as he was. I think he's very tentative now because he got his eye socket broke. He got busted up, didn't he, against Holloway? Yeah. Then he got the shoulder injury, didn't he? And Yair won. Yeah, he came out. But Ortega's had a lot of out of the cage issues. He's had issues with his kid's mum. He's had issues with people within his camp. He never actually said who it was. I know he's with the Gracies to a degree, isn't he? With his jiu-jitsu.
He is, yeah.
He got something happened within his camp. I don't know whether people were letting information out, but he changed some things within his camp. He was seeing, what's her name? Tracy Cortez.
He was.
That ended maybe not so much amicably as it could have done. So he's had a lot of outside things going on. I think he's a single father as well. I think he's got 2 young sons. So he's had a lot of going on outside the cage. And I just don't think that he is as, I don't want to say dedicated, because that sounds like I'm sort of questioning.
He doesn't strike you as he loves the sport, does he?
Yeah, I think he's got a few quid now, because I know he came from sort of abject poverty. You know, he's got the sponsorships, he's got the deals now. And I think Diego Lopez, on the other hand, is hungry. I agree with what you said, Sam. I've not seen anything to sort of blow me away from him.
I've not seen anything to beat Max Aurelio yet.
No, absolutely not. He's fighting at the level he's supposed to be fighting at, which is a run or two below sort of the top 3 or 4. Brian Ortega's just outside, for me, the top 5, just barely. He's sort of one of the best of the next.
Best of the rest.
The best of the rest. He's up there. Without his jiu-jitsu, though, you know, he doesn't offer very much.
Volk, Max and Ilya at the upper, and then you've got that little crowd below him. And
I think if he's not on it, then I think we could see sort of a passing of the torch. And I think they're around about the same age, to be fair. But I do believe that Ortega's got considerably more cage mileage on him than what Lopez has. Lopez is fairly new to the organisation. It's a strange one. It could be a crossroads fight, but T-City could just come out there and put him in a triangle and end it in the first if it goes to the ground. I know Lopez has got a black belt himself, but I believe that in terms of pure jits, that T-City, I mean, there's not many people could mess with him in terms of jiu-jitsu. Maybe one of the Diaz brothers, Damian Maia, somebody like that, a proper, well-established 2 or 3 dan black belt. But yeah, for me, it's an interesting fight. It's not one that I would. I couldn't pick a winner, if I'm honest. It's sort of.
I think Ortega will win on decision. I don't think he'll have too much just right now at this point. I think he can turn it on when he wants to. What do you think, Liam?
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm similar to Jay. I'd love it if T-City can turn it on and give us one more one more, but another performance, roll back the years kind of thing. But you talk about Max Holloway being the fight that broke his heart and took everything away from him. I actually think it was Volk. He had those 2 submissions.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
He was inches away from being UFC
champion. Not once, twice. He was inches away from it. And I actually think that completely
crazy how we got out of that flipping triangle.
Oh, the triangle. And there's the guillotine first, wasn't it? Then the triangle.
And that's the thing for me. I actually think Max Holloway, don't get me wrong, he left a piece of himself was taken by Max Holloway that night. But
couple of pieces.
And
Max actually taught him how to block a punch in the middle of the fight. Max is insane.
Oh man, I forgot he grabbed his arm, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Insane.
When I swing.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Max is a dream to watch when he's on it.
Oh, he's amazing.
I think the Volkanovski fight took more away from him. I think if he was ever going to become a UFC champion, for me, it was.
Yeah. He's not gonna now.
So we've had the conversation. We know he's not as dedicated. We know he doesn't live the life. So he's not. You wouldn't say he's motivated by a title shot. He's motivated by the financial rewards, by the money, like you said. Whereas Lopez, young, he's hungry. He's not had a title shot yet. He is okay. He's 28, 29 years old, but he is younger, fresh and meat to pump a bit more life in this division. And I think a chance here at the Sophia with the Saudi money, because we know the Saudis won a couple of pay-per-views next year over there on Riyadh season. Mm-hmm. Lopez is thinking to himself, if I deliver here, I'm showing Uncle Turkey and the people from Saudi what I can do. So I think
Lopez, for a shot.
I think Lopez is going to come out and put on a performance, and he'll win it on points. But he's going to come out and put performance on Brian, unfortunately. And
if he puts on a good enough performance, he can call for a shot.
There's not too much traffic behind the champs at 145.
It's not as though it's bottlenecked at the top. We've got Ilya and Max fighting for the title, and then this is like for the interim or a number one contender, isn't it? Because everybody else is tied up. Who have you got? You've got Arnold Allen. I think he's coming off an injury. I'm trying to think.
There's not a great deal of
there, is it? Featherweight, really. That
Josh Emmett and people like that
deserve a title shot above Lopez if he gets a decent enough win, or Brian. If Brian Ortega gets a decent enough win, then he could say, you know, I want a rematch.
Yeah, I think Volk will get the next shot, and then the next guy will be the likes of Lopez or somebody like that.
Volk hinted at it, didn't he, during Drickus and Izzy
fight? Yeah, he's done. It's done. He just needs to sit out and wait for the Sugar and Sugar. He needs to wait for Ilya and Max, and then he's getting
lose some more weight if he's fighting winner of that one, lads.
Yeah, because he's meant to be fighting Charles Oliveira at 155, which would have been a bad fight for him, I think.
He said he promised his missus he's set out for 12 months, so I think he's got to stick to that word. Keep his missus. He said, "Fight week." He's got.
We know all about that, don't we, boys?
Volts in the doghouse.
Yeah,
that we all.
So, yes, should be a fun one then, boys. Then elsewhere on the main card, you got Jay touching it earlier. You got Daniel Zeluba against Esteban Ribovics. He's just come off a big win over Terrence McKinney in the first round, and Ronaldo Rodriguez against O'Day Osborne, who's on a 2-fight skid, and he's probably fighting for his UFC career. Lost 3 of his last 4 by stoppage. Anything to say on those couple of scraps, boys? 13-1 versus 15-1. Zeluba and Ribovics. So it should be.
Let's be honest, boys.
Shouldn't be on the main card of UFC.
Seeing either of those guys fight, because I can't.
Only Osborne a few times, but
this is the caliber of fights, and I have no issue saying this. This is the caliber of fights you expect to see on these fight nights from the Apex that we want gone, and people have stopped realistically giving a toss about unless they're banging 5-round main events. The fact they're on a Sophia card that is under serious.
Look at the Abu Dhabi main card compared to that.
I know, but I think it had to be Mexican, so they've pretty much sat in the war room and said, right, get me every active Mexican fighter we've got. Right, can we match them up? Yeah, let's go. Because you've got Raul Rosas is on there as well.
Yeah,
prelims, isn't he? I don't know why he's not on the main card.
You know what the name?
I know Rosas should be on the main card, really, shouldn't he?
For some reason, he barely gets on him. I don't think has he fought on the main card.
I think he has.
He always. I think he did the curtain jerker once, didn't he?
Yeah, he's done a few curtain jerkers, yeah.
Boys, I tell you what,
I'd be using this to bolster his brand.
Yeah,
and,
he's a star in the making.
He's an up and coming young kid. He's very, very talented. They can't say that they're trying to slowly work him through because they've already exposed him at the top end and now putting him down on the prelims. It doesn't make any sense. There's no rhyme or reason to it for me.
One thing for me, boys, about this card, and it's not something the UFC have done before, so it's not completely out there. The real power play when going up against Canelo on Mexican Independence Day weekend, which we said before, you can circle the 2 Saturdays in a year Canelo's going to go in Vegas, and this is the second one, would be making this fight free on ESPN. They've done it with cards. They've done it with, no offense, the lesser number cards before that are title cards before that haven't got the star power behind them. I'm not saying
you're not going to compete with Canelo with that card.
It's free fair. I think it would be their power play of bringing it back in.
100%.
Sophia looks 40% full from having a look this afternoon, similar to you, Jay.
Yeah.
It's pay-per-view, either Canelo or Sugar. That main event is going to be sitting, waiting, I would imagine, for the other one to finish. There's no way they can go at the same time.
No. They've done it before, haven't they, where the Canelo sat and waited, I think.
It was for the Nick Diaz Masvidal fight, wasn't it? Anyway,
Nate Masvidal at MSG.
I think the reason they've made it, I think the reason they've made it pay-per-view is because it's O'Malley and you've got the what's that kid called that gives everybody money? Steve will do it, is it?
Oh yeah.
You've got all those dudes. All their fans will buy the pay-per-views. That's what's.
Look, I think 306 was announced before Canelo. In all honesty, like I think they've always had that date for the Sphere for a long time. Canelo just does better business ultimately on Mexican Independence Day weekend. You have the biggest star in boxing, arguably, definitely one of the in the last 5 years. He's been the biggest star in the sport. You know, one of the biggest Mexican sports stars, ever. You're not going to compete with him. So I'll be interested to see I know Canelo's price point's really high and stuff like that, but I'll be interested to see the numbers that UFC Noche does at the pay-per-view. I really will, because I'm not convinced. But I know they're not going to clash, but, the US audience aren't going to buy the UFC pay-per-view and Canelo pay-per-view at the same. Like, I'd imagine that Canelo will go before the UFC this time. I think Sugar and Merab main event will be after. Because the UFC main events have been getting towards 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. in recent cards because I've been up for them. And this is UK time, obviously. Canelo's not going to fight at 5:30.
That means we can watch Canelo and we can watch this. So it's good for us. But I think, it is an interesting one. I think I completely understand that Dana's had this date booked in for a long time. And he's said again in an interview today that he's a big admirer of Canelo. He's met Canelo, thinks he's a fantastic guy, loves what he does. You know when Canelo's going to fight, as we said, especially
I don't know why he did it.
Could have gone last weekend. There was no real boxing last weekend. I get him not wanting to go next
It's
weekend.
just because it's all Mexican Independence Day weekend, isn't it? I get
know,
the
but we
concept.
all know. I mean, I won't bloody have a Mexican-themed birthday party over here on Saturday because, not that I know many Mexicans.
Yeah, look, it's like it's a flex from all of them, isn't it? It's like, I'm going to go. No, I'm going to go. No, I'm, and ultimately it's going to affect the business for Canelo. It's going to affect the business for the UFC. It's as simple as that.
It's going to hit them both. They're both.
Yeah.
I mean, as we've said, they haven't done what they tell you. The tickets are still available for the UFC, and I'm assuming there'll be tickets still left for the Canelo event. So it is going to hit them. It is going to hit them, both organisations, in the pocket. But I do think that the pay-per-views in terms of UFC will be bought by the, my daughter's YouTube generation that O'Malley's sort of tapped into, hasn't he? He's tapped into the sort of the Misfits YouTube
good marker
side of it. Fantastic. Listen, he's one of the best that kid hasn't got a manager. He's never had a manager. I think he had Rubenstein when he first came through the Contender Series, but he's always been self-managed. And look, everyone said it was the wrong thing to do. He's probably one of the more recognizable faces of UFC at the moment. He's in all the promos. He's on the video game. If I see an O'Malley headline, I'll stop and read. If I see the pink hair or whatever, curly hair, bright colours, I'll stop and read. He's a fantastic marketer, absolutely fantastic. I think without him on the card, if they'd have had Grasso and Valentina,
it would have been an absolute disaster.
That would have been tough. That would have been a tough sell.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there then, boys, for the UFC 306 preview. We've got plenty else on for the rest of this week. We'll be over on Liam's Fight Night Picks, a debut tomorrow night over on STBX. We're looking forward to that. That'll be released Wednesday lunchtime, Liam?
Yeah, Wednesday lunchtime. It will be out on YouTube.
Perfect. Which is a great segue into Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. We'll be live for episode 4 of the No Punches Pulled. Where's my... Right, somewhere down there. Right down there. Yeah, there it is. Hashtag no punches pulled.
Merch is available.
Merch available. Yeah, we'll be previewing obviously Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga and talking all the latest boxing news. Potential show for Friday evening post weigh-in for Canelo. We'll iron out the details for that, but we definitely will be live for the Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga main card. Potentially be able to do Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili if the scheduling is kind to us. Yeah, there'll be plenty of caffeine required. But as per usual, big thanks to Jay's Fight Talk. Go and subscribe to the Jay's Fight Talk YouTube channel. Growing by the day there, subscriber wise, and over on X at Jay's Fight Talk, he's over 1,000 by a mile now. He's up to nearly 1,050, I think. So that's showing some huge growth there. Absolutely. And then you got Liam Tully at Liam_Tully9. Obviously, look after him on X. No YouTube channel just yet, but he's doing work from tomorrow over on STBX for hashtag Liam's Fight Night Picks. That'll debut tomorrow, so make sure you tune into that. We'll see if we can sneak in some more 306 content throughout the week. But as always, everybody, appreciate you tuning in. We will see you throughout this week for a huge fight week.
See you soon.
Cheers, guys.